Hey guys, welcome back. I have a question for you today. Have you ever looked around at your life and thought nothing is wrong exactly, but somehow everything feels different? And so the thing that I want to think about today is why my 40s feel so weird to me. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lindsay. I do a lot of different content, mostly just talking about things that I'm currently thinking about. And right now I am stuck on the rabbit hole that my 40s is like a really weird time. So join me in this conversation. I have some notes here because I have thoughts. so I'm going to reference my notes from time to time. Okay, so let me start by saying I love my life. I have a great life. Things are hard, don't get me wrong. Times are difficult, money's tight, but I love my life. I have a great life. The Lord has blessed me immensely, and I love my family. I have all these responsibilities. I have so many goals that I would love to be hitting, but like the things that I thought that were gonna be my midlife just aren't. Like the stuff that used to like excite me or like motivate me or like make me excited to pop out of bed in the morning, like it just doesn't really exist anymore. And I'm wondering if that's like by design, right? If that's not a bug, that's a feature. So maybe you're like me, maybe you're standing in the middle of like a huge life transition and you're wondering like, hey, am I broken? maybe you're just questioning everything, right? So that's where I'm at right now. And so I want to kind of walk through that thought process of being in midlife, but not really feeling like it's a crisis. So I think like there was this meme that I saw, and it was or it was like maybe a YouTube short or something, and it was this woman who was talking about like the millennial midlife crisis starter packs that you could opt in for, and one was like you can get chickens and do homesteading, and I was like, well, I don't have chickens. I really do want to do homesteading though. The other one is you can do like learn how to make sourdough, and I was like, oh, check, I've done that. But anyway, she's going through like all these different like millennial midlife crisis starter packs, and I was like, wow, I've done a bunch of those things. And I was like, okay, that made me feel kind of old, which is funny because I don't know if any of you experience this, but I experience this all the time where like in my brain I don't feel old. Like when I'm thinking about myself or like on the day-to-day, I don't feel old, but then like I get out of bed and every single body part of mine makes a noise and I'm like, oof. I don't know, like my brain and my body are currently having a pretty big disconnect about a lot of things, and I'm really uncomfortable with that situation. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to live with it because clearly that's not gonna get any easier. But yeah, I think maybe I expected my midlife to be a little bit more dramatic. I expected there to be like a convertible or I don't know, like an eat, pray, love situation or something, which is so stupid because obviously I don't want that for my life. I really like my life. But I don't know, like I'm thinking maybe I need to have like a glow up or something. And I feel like social media sells me that a lot. Now, this is the only social media platform I'm on currently, for a myriad of reasons, but mostly because this one I do not find as addicting. I tend to use YouTube for educational purposes, or for like motivation, information, not necessarily entertainment, where I would use other platforms for entertainment, and I think that did something to my brain. So letting go of the other platforms and only keeping YouTube was very healthy for me. That's just for me, right? So I'm wondering how much of me feeling like midlife was gonna be more dramatic or glamorous or something was like this idea of midlife and not real midlife, I guess. I just feel like the reality of going through midlife right now is just so much quieter than what I expected. And I don't really know how I feel about that. I guess it's a blessing because I'm not having like major health stuff aside, right? I'm not having like, oh my gosh, should I get a divorce? Or, oh my gosh, my kids hate me, or anything like that. It's more so like, I just don't know what life looks like going forward now that it's just quieter, like, because my son's almost graduated. He's looking at, what he's going to do for the rest of his life. And now I'm 41 and I'm like, wow, I still have, Lord willing, a good 80 years. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? No, another like good 40 years ahead of me before realistically I'm going home to Jesus. So, right, like, what do I do for 40 years? Because it doesn't really feel like I have a whole 40 years, and I don't even know if that makes sense what I'm trying to articulate. So I'm going to move on to my next point because I think I'm going to come back around to that in a later point. I feel like I'm not becoming someone else, but I'm just meeting a new version of myself. And this has been true throughout like my whole life, right? Like when I was in my teens, I was one version of myself. And then as I matured, I became another version of myself. And the person who I was at 23 when I had my son would not even recognize me today. Like, we are not even close to the same woman. So I just wonder how much of that is due to maturity. Obviously, some of that is just due to maturity, but also how much of that is due to life experience and expectations. And I don't know. I just don't have a good answer for any of it, except for that I'm excited. On one hand, I'm like excited to see where life is going, but also kind of terrified because it's like, wow, okay, so I'm 40 and I'm like at the midpoint of the average lifespan of a person, and I feel like I've learned a lot and I've accomplished a lot, but also at the same time I haven't learned anything and I haven't accomplished anything, and that's it's a very unsettling feeling. So I keep trying to remind myself that like life is not over, and that I'm just meeting the next version of me, and I'm coming into it now, and it's kind of like putting on a new outfit and looking in the mirror and being like, I don't know if I like this outfit, but then the longer you're wearing it, the more you're like, okay, yeah, I do like it. Hopefully that makes sense to somebody, because I'm just not sure if the thought that I'm having translates well. The next point that I have is that the milestones have kind of disappeared, right? Like, when I was younger, I used to think, okay, when I'm 21, I'll be able to drink. When I'm 25, I'll be able to rent a car, go on a cruise. When I'm 30, then I'll be old. When I'm 40, oh my gosh, my life is halfway over. Or like when my son was young, I used to think, okay, I'm just going to get to this next milestone of his. Like, he's going to learn to walk, he's going to learn to talk, he's going to go into school, which he didn't, we homeschooled. He's going to graduate, and now we're approaching that point where like he's going to graduate and start his life, and the milestones for me have kind of like run out, which that's not necessarily true, because I assume he's still going to get married and have kids of his own, and I'll become a grandma, and there'll be more milestones, but just like for me in my life that don't involve other people, the milestones really aren't there anymore. And it's like, okay, so now what do I do? And it's not like anybody has a map for any of this, right? Like, I guess I kind of believed that there was going to be a point in time where I would wake up and just know what I wanted to do when I was grown up, and I'm grown up and I don't know what I want to do. So I've been exploring a lot of different careers. I've been exploring some licensures and certifications and going back to school, those kind of things, because I guess I've kind of realized that 40 years is a long time to not be doing something, right? Like, not that my first 40 years weren't doing something, because they were. I was very busy doing the things, and they were important things to be doing. But it's like the next 40 years, I don't know that I want to be working at a grocery store for the next 40 years. I don't even think that that's possible, honestly. I just can feel the wear and tear on my body. I have another job also. So I currently have 2 part-time jobs. I work at a very famous Florida grocery store part-time, and then I have another part-time job that I don't really want to talk about right on camera. So not because of anything other than I respect the privacy of my employer there. So both of those jobs I can see becoming increasingly more difficult to deal with the physical demands as I get older. And then I'm kind of like reverse engineering too. Like, this entire time, my husband's been chasing his professional career, and I've been happy to support him in doing that, and that's led us to having like a really good life, right? But now that I don't have the demands at home, I have the opportunity to start a career, which I don't know why more people don't talk about this, right? Like, I stayed home so that I could raise my child and homeschool and support the house, and that was great. That's what I should have been doing, right? For me, that's what I was called to do. But now I kind of feel like I don't have a calling. And so there's like this weird period of, okay, I have all these opportunities that I could be exploring that I didn't have when I was younger, because I didn't have the time or the money or the support or the stability even. But now I have it, and it's almost like too many options. I don't know. Maybe somebody else is going to relate to this. So it's almost like I have to draw my own roadmap, but it's not like I have anybody showing me how to do that. So I'm kind of hoping that I can explore that topic in depth in a different video. I think too, another point is that achievement versus meaning has become a thing for me. When I was younger, I very much appreciated achievement. Not that I don't still appreciate achievement, because girl loves a good award, don't get me wrong. The cat's meowing, sorry. So anyways, not that I don't love a good award, I do. But the meaning of what I'm doing, I think, matters more now than it did when I was younger. When I was younger, I definitely would have chased more money, more titles, more prestige, more success. And now I don't, not that those things aren't important, because to a degree I guess they still are, but they're not as important. They're not like defining for me. What I want to be doing in the future is going to need to have meaning for me. If it doesn't have meaning, I'm not going to want to show up. It's not going to be enough just to be getting a paycheck, right? And I think that's what I'm struggling right now with, is that I'm having a hard time connecting meaning in my part-time jobs, which are good jobs and I enjoy doing, but they're not producing the meaning for me. Which, that's not to say that they're bad jobs, it's just they're not my long-term thing. So the purpose behind what I'm looking at doing matters more than it did before. And I think that leads me into my next point, was that the questions have changed for me. It's less about what should I accomplish. Like, it's less about becoming a millionaire, which, whatever, that doesn't even mean anything anymore. It's less about getting the fancy title or having whatever. Those things are nice, but it's more about what kind of life do I want. And I do want to do a video about reverse engineering a life for yourself that works for you. I think that it's pretty easy to get caught up in somebody else's idealized version of what's going to work for your life, and it's much harder to work backwards from what you think you want or what you think you want your life to look like in the future to, okay, well, how do I get that, right? And it's not necessarily like, how do I get that money or how do I get that title? Although I think you could apply those, you can apply those same tactics to that. But it's more about, maybe it's easier if I give an example. So my husband's got 20 years at his company. In 10 years, he could theoretically retire. He won't, but theoretically he could. If in 10 years' time, I'm at a point in my career where I couldn't theoretically be done working or scale way back to part-time, then we're going to have a mismatch. And I don't want that. I don't want me to still be climbing some type of corporate ladder in a career that I choose today in 10 years' time, only for me to not be with my husband. Like, I've just seen that happen a lot. I've seen it happen a lot where the couple grows apart because they're not on the same team anymore. And I don't want that for my life or my marriage. So I think reverse engineering the type of life that I want has become much more important to me. And that's become a deciding factor in things that I may or may not pursue in the future. My next point is that time feels different. Time just has become much more precious and even more clarifying. So one of the things that I was looking at doing was going to school for maybe nursing or something in the healthcare field. And when I think about how long it would take me to get through that versus the return on investment, not even the money that I would make in the end, but just the amount of time that I'm willing to invest right now versus how much I would have to give up in the future, it doesn't make sense. God willing, I make it to 80 or 90 years old, but things happen, and this year has been very clarifying. I said in a previous video that I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer at the beginning of this year. He was diagnosed in October, and he was deceased by January. So it was very fast, the way things happened. And that had I would say, profound impact on me thinking about my future plans and what I want to do with my life going forward. I just can't see where, or unless it was like a passion for me, and it would have to be a passion for me to go dump a bunch of time, energy, and money into some type of schooling to do something where at the end I would be my dad's age when he died. And it would be, I don't know, there's something, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but maybe you've lost a parent and they were relatively young. And it just is making me think a lot about how I'm spending my time and what's important. And that's actually part of the reason that I wanted to revive this YouTube channel, because I think these are conversations that maybe aren't being had at a truthful level, right? Like, I see a lot of midlife content, and it's about reinventing yourself or about where you should be by the time you're 40 or whatever, but that's just not, it's not really realistic for most people, and I think it's not honest. I think it's trying to sell you something, and maybe that something doesn't really exist. And I think we should have some more conversations about the reality of this life. So, I just lost my whole train of thought there. So yeah, let me move on to my next point. Next point is, you really do stop trying to impress everyone. I just stopped caring. I would say somewhere in my 30s, I probably stopped caring, but by the time I hit 40, I just don't care. I don't care. I don't have to be polished. I don't have to be edited. I don't have to wear the makeup. I don't have to do the hair. Is it nice to do those things? Sure, and I do from time to time. I don't have to be the best version of myself. I don't have to impress anyone. And I don't really care to. So that's why I'm doing these videos unedited and unscripted, because I just don't care. I think that the highly polished content that's out there isn't real. And it's hard for me to connect with a content creator when their content is all 100% super polished, because that's not what my life looks like. My life is pretty messy. It's not a train wreck, so I don't connect with people who have train wreck lives either, but it's also not linear. It's very chaotic and webby, and I just think, like, I don't want to impress anyone, because my peace actually matters way more than my status. I'm gonna let my cat inside so he stops yelling. I don't even know why he wants to go inside. He's always yelling to come outside. Okay. Here. Go inside. As you can see, I'm out on my patio, and I'm in front of a fan and under a fan because it's 100 million degrees right now. Okay, back to my points. My definition of wealth has really changed. I think I care more about my time than I care about my bank account right now. And I don't know if that's because we've reached a level of stability. I'm sure that has something to do with it. Or if it just has to do with being in my 40s now, that probably has something to do with it too. It probably also has something to do with, like, looking around and seeing everybody in our same situation. Like, everybody's struggling. Nobody, like, the people that look wealthy, when you actually start talking to them and having the conversations with them, they're not doing well. So it's all being propped up with, like, debt or fake whatever. And I think that has changed my idea of what a luxury is. Right now, something that I would consider a luxury is just being able to come out on my patio at 6:30 every morning and have a cup of coffee, and I'm not having to answer any emails or take any calls or do anything other than watch the sunrise and drink coffee and have a cat harass me to be fed. That, to me, is currently a luxury. And I just would not have considered that a luxury 20 years ago, I don't think. Something else that feels really weird is that my definition of home has really solidified and changed. And home has become not just a place to live. It's become a place of peace. It's become not just a roof over my head, right? Like, I spend a lot more time, energy, money, effort into making my home beautiful, filling it with things that I love, not necessarily like in a consumeristic sort of way, but in a way where I'm like, okay, does this house serve the people that live in it? Or am I trying to make the people that live in it serve the house? And making my house like a reflection of what I find beautiful in the world. So I just didn't care about those things as much 20 years ago. But when I walk into my house right now, especially after a long day of work, I want it to feel peaceful and welcoming and cozy and like a refuge away from the world. And I guess I couldn't have really articulated that maybe as much when I was in the depths of raising up a small child and homeschooling. I mean, I could have told you that it was important to have a place of peace and refuge, but I don't think I properly appreciated it until now. And then my final point on this is that saying no has gotten easier. No is a complete sentence, and using no as a complete sentence has just become really easy. I would say even just 10 years ago, I felt like I needed to say yes to every opportunity, every invitation, every anything. And I would say yes, because if I had missed an opportunity, then then I would have missed like something important. But now, no is a complete sentence, and I say it all the time. Can you pick up a shift? No. No explanation. Can you stay late? No. No explanation. I'm going home. And not that makes me like a bad employee, because there are plenty of times where I do pick up the shift, or I do say yes to staying late, or I do the opportunity or take the invitation or whatever. But it's just much easier to filter those opportunities through the lens of saying yes to anything costs something. And so if I say yes to an invitation or an opportunity, then I am saying no to a bunch of other things. So I better be sure that yes is worth the opportunity cost that it's costing me. I'll give you an example of this. I had some coworkers invite me out for some drinks. I have no problem with going out with some coworkers for some drinks every once in a while. It's not a big deal. However, after a night of drinking, not that I do this very often, and by a night of drinking, I do mean like 2 mixed drinks. We're not talking about like a binge thing here. I get a headache. I do not feel good. It takes me like 3 days to feel like myself. It's not worth it. So the opportunity cost of saying yes to going out and having a couple of glasses of wine with some coworkers is I'm going to feel like crap for the next 3 days. And you know what? It's not worth it. The trade-off, it's not worth it. So I say no. Does that mean that my coworkers think that I'm like a fuddy-duddy old stick-in-the-mud lady? Yes, probably. And I don't care. That's the other joy. I just don't care. Because that means I'm going to be able to show up for my shift the next day, perform my job, clock out, and go home. And I'm going to feel okay about doing that. And I'm not going to feel like, I'm 300 years old. So that's just one example, but every yes costs you something. So being careful in what you say yes to and learning that no is an answer. It's just gotten much easier. Okay, so I think that my 40s feels strange, mainly because I'm really free to ask much better questions now. I think that maybe this season isn't asking me to become somebody new so much as it's asking me to be much more honest about who I have been this whole time. And it's forcing me to really examine what I want my life to look like going forward. And that's so clarifying and helpful now that I'm making decisions. And I didn't have that clarity in my 20s when the world was expecting me to make these decisions. So I'm actually really grateful that I didn't go out and make these decisions in my 20s, because I would have made dumb decisions. I know I would have, because I did start making some of those dumb decisions in my 20s. So I'm really thankful that the Lord intervened and had me become a mom in my 20s and a wife instead, because now I can focus my attention and energy towards things that I think actually matter, and they wouldn't have mattered as much when I was much younger. So I want to know, if you're in your 40s or if you're approaching it, what do you think has been the biggest surprise for you? If you're not there yet, what do you imagine your biggest surprise is going to be? One of the reasons that I wanted to make this video is I just feel like these are some conversations that deserve more attention than some type of like 30 or 60 second snippet And I think that our ordinary seasons of life just deserve a little bit more time and a little bit more thought. And so if that resonated with you, well, I'm glad you're here. So I think that's about all I have to say on that topic. I covered all my little points. Got interrupted by the cat. See, that's just ordinary life. So anyhow, if you could be praying for me, I'll be praying for you. Leave me some comments about what you think, conversations that we should like be having about midlife that we aren't talking about. And then, well, my usual. I love you. Bye. And see you in the next one.